lot of the German route add-ons in Train Sim World are, in my opinion, fairly boring, often focusing on electrified lines running through fairly unremarkable terrain, and it doesn't help that most of them are linear. Today, we're revisiting a route that's especially mediocre, namely Hauptstrecke Hamburg to Lübeck. This is an updated version of my original HML review, which was published in July 2023. The Hamburg to Lübeck DLC was made by Dovetail Games and first released in May 2021, back when Train Sim World 2 was the latest iteration of the game. These days, the version compatible with Train Sim World 5 costs $43.59 NZD at full price. That's $7.50 more than the original price. Meanwhile, the separately sold Deutsche Bahn BR218 costs an extra $26.29 NZD. That add-on was made by Train Sim Germany and released in June 2024, and I reckon the BR218 is one of the better diesels in TSW. As the DLC's name implies, you get the 63 kilometers or 39 miles of track from Hamburg Hauptbahnhof to Lübeck Hauptbahnhof, mostly in the German state of Schleswig-Holstein. I'm unsure of the time period in which this route is set, but in any case, this is a remake of a route that we already had in TS Classic, albeit without the BR474 electric multiple unit and S-bahn line S1, which were present on the TSC version. The TSW version is mostly linear, albeit with the addition of the freight-only branch from Hamburg-Wandsbek to the yard at Rothenburg sort. Incidentally, while writing the script for this review, I found out that the real Wandsbek station closed in December 2021 to make room for the extension of the S-bahn S4 line out to Bad Oldesloe. Apparently, the S-bahn trains will use newly built tracks as far as Ahrensburg-Gartenholz, then run on the existing tracks for the rest of the way to Bad Oldesloe. Thinking back to TSW, the route coverage just ends at Lübeck Hauptbahnhof, and it's a shame we don't have the line up to Lübeck Travemünde Strand as well. That would have made the route more interesting, and provided an opportunity to include the BR648 Corridia Lint 41 diesel multiple unit as well. Even though the line is fairly short, at only 20.6 kilometers or 12.8 miles long, it would still be nice to see in TSW. As for motive power that does come with the route, it's just the Deutsche Bahn BR112 and MRCE ES64U2 electric locomotives. The BR112 is technically a new addition despite looking very similar and sounding identical to the BR143, which we already had with Ruhr-Sieg Nord. As for the MRCE locomotive, she's not really a new addition to the game, since she's pretty much the same as the Deutsche Bahn BR182 that we already had, albeit in a different livery. The BR182 was released in April 2019 as an add-on for the rapid transit route. I know that Dovetail has always had release schedules and deadlines or what have you, but that is no excuse for laziness, and that is exactly what they did where the Doppelstockwagen coaches on HML are concerned. Instead of adding the high entry variant, which was actually used on the Hamburg to Lübeck run in real life, DTG just reused the same old low entry Dostos that we already had with Ruhr-Sieg Nord and Main-Spessartbahn. As a result, the realism on HML is somewhat spoiled. Come to think of it, we've actually got high-entry Dostos in TS Classic, and their absence in TSW is especially annoying given how much time has passed since HML's release. Surely it wouldn't be too difficult to model a variant with doors above the bogies instead of in between them. And even though I don't know how to do 3D modelling myself, that doesn't mean I'm just going to shut up and blindly accept whatever slop the developers give us. That's not how it works. As for freight wagons, you get 4 types with Hamburg to Lübeck. These are the Hubbins 344 paper wagon, which we already had with Ruhr-Sieg Nord and Main-Spessartbahn, the LAA ERS560 car transporter, reused from mein s-bahn, Rus-T645 logwagon, another one reused from Ruhr-Sieg Nord, and SGG MRSS container flats, reused from Rhein-Ruhr-Osten. It doesn't really surprise me to learn that Dovetail didn't include any new freight wagons with HML, and for the rest of this video, I will mainly be focusing on the passenger services because that's just what I prefer. Timetable mode features 31 playable services for the MRCE ES64U2, 118 for the BR112, and 91 with the 4th gen Doppelstockwagen cab car leading on a passenger train. Traditionally, the locomotive is marshalled at the Lübeck end, with the cab car at the Hamburg end. This route features what might just be the longest Dostos consists I've seen in all of TSW, with the BR112 managing to shift 7 of the things on the run out to Lübeck. Although the MRCE locomotive is capable of hauling passenger trains too, she primarily takes freight on this route and doesn't haul any regular passenger trains. Motive power from various other German add-ons also layers onto, or substitutes into, the timetable on Hamburg to Lübeck, either for playable or AI-only services. Thinking back to the BR218 diesel locomotive, she has 29 playable services on this route, and also includes the N-Wagen coaches with variants of the Karlsruher Kopf cab car that's compatible with diesels. With the layers active, Hamburg Hauptbahnhof looks and feels moderately busy, although it still feels a little too quiet for what's supposed to be one of Germany's busiest railway stations. Incidentally, this station reminds me of, and also appears on, the old Hamburg to Hanover route in TS Classic, one of the first routes I ever had. Aside from those hauled by the BR218, nearly all of the passenger services on this route are hauled by the BR112, which makes for a very repetitive rail scene outside of Hamburg, on the passenger side at least. Driving the BR112 is not all that different from the experience on the BR143, which is hardly surprising given just how similar the two classes are to each other. Based on what I've noticed, the BR112 only differs from the BR143 by way of revised headlight clusters, a slightly higher top speed of 160 km per hour, and slight changes to the cab interior. And just like the BR143, the BR112 has this bizarre speed selector, in other words, what appears to be a combined throttle and speed set system. There's also this force selector lever controlled by pressing the R and F keys, but I don't understand what it does. The BR218 and N-Wagen coaches are used on the RE83 service, which runs on a consistent hourly schedule from Hamburg to Kiel, but it's only drivable as far as Lübeck. The northbound RE83 leaves Hamburg at 17 minutes past the hour, while the southbound service leaves Lübeck at 5 minutes past. Besides the passenger services, the BR218 can also haul freight trains from time to time. People who own the Niedertalbahn add-on will also see the BR628-2 diesel multiple units on AI-only services at Lübeck Hauptbahnhof. Amongst other services, the 628 represents those going to Lüneburg, Kiel Hauptbahnhof and Travemünde. I'll continue to praise TSG for adding this modern DB rear delivery for the BR628, especially since they didn't pull a dovetail or rivet for this thing. In other words, the DB rear delivery was a free addition instead of being in a payware gameplay pack, and it arrived in September 2023, at the same time as Train Sim World 4. Due to the lack of the aforementioned BR474, The S-bahn tracks between Hamburg Hauptbahnhof and Hasselbrück, which run right next to the main line, are completely deserted on the TSW version. Rather than having absolutely nothing on these tracks, I would have preferred to just see a really basic AI-only rendition of the BR474. I find Hamburg to Lübeck to be a very boring route to drive on, primarily because of its lack of tunnels and any other significant landmarks. Yes, I am aware of the Ferris wheel west of Hamburg-Wandsbek. After all, you can't really miss it. But that's only a scenery tile activated by completing the mastery challenges. The only services in the timetable that go all the way to Lübeck are RE8 and RE80 for the BR112 and RE83 for the BR218. It only takes around 45 to 49 minutes to cover the full route in either of these locomotives, and the electric will normally only stop at Bad Oldesloe and Rheinfeld-Hulst, but occasionally calls at Ahrensburg too. There's another service, route number RB81, that stops at all stations on its run, but it terminates at Bagdeheide or Bad Oldesloe. I'm very confused as to why Dovetail decided to bring this particular route to TSW, given its rather unremarkable nature. At the end of the day, I don't think I can recommend the Hamburg to Lübeck route to other TSW players, be they veterans or newcomers. The very concept is so bland and uninspired that it could give the likes of Duisburg to Bochum and Bremen to Oldenburg a run for their money. But at least the Bremen route includes some high-quality rolling stock, in the form of the BR110-3 locomotive and N-Wagen coaches, not to mention decent reskins for the BR155 and BR425. HML's case is not helped by the fact that the full route can be covered in less than an hour, not to mention Dovetail using the wrong variant of Doppelstockwagen coaches. If you're after a good German route to add to your TSW collection, the only recommendations that I can think of are Nahverkehr Dresden, the Niedertalbahn, unsurprisingly, and Schnellfahrstrecke Köln. In any case, I give Hauptstrecke Hamburg to Lübeck a 5 out of 10. It's not absolutely horrendous, but it's not all that good either. Like the Clinchfield Railroad, this one just exists.